The water-based polyurethane that I sprayed on as a seal coat took about an hour to dry, and now I'm in the process of filling the grain. This guitar body has two kinds of wood. The base wood is alder, which has a fairly tight grain structure. And when I sprayed the sealer on, that was really all I needed to fill the grain. The top, however, is red elm, which is very similar to ash in that it has a very deep grain structure. And when you slide your fingers across the surface, you can actually feel the grain. And since I want to have a mirror smooth high gloss finish, I need to fill that grain in so it's level with the rest of the wood. Because I applied the paint to enhance the grain, sanded it off, and then applied the dye, I need to use a grain filler that will dry clear. There are a lot of clay type paste grain fillers out there that you can use, but those work best early on, right after you're prep sanding and before applying any stain or color. You can also use, it's an old woodworker's trick where you separate egg whites and you use the egg white, you pour it on and then sand it into the wood, and when you sand that, the dust that you create mixes with the egg white and packs down into the grain, and it really works pretty well. A couple of applications and you've got your grain filled nicely. But again, that's another product that works best early on, right after prep sanding and before applying the color. Since I've already applied the color, I need to use a grain filler that I can apply, and when it dries, it will dry clear, and then I can sand it smooth. There's a couple of products out there that I'm aware of which are designed specifically for that. Crystal Lac makes grain filler, and I know that Balin makes a grain filler, and both those products are water-based, so they would work well in this application. However, they're not readily available. It's not like I can just pop into the local hardware store and pick up a can. And I wanted something that was locally available and readily available just about anywhere and at a reasonable price. So what I've found that works really well is Liquitex. For those of you who don't know what Liquitex is a company that makes acrylic paint for artists. And if you go into just about any craft and hobby store around, you'll find their products. And they also make a couple of different kinds of gels. The difference between them being the thickness of the body. This is a medium gel. They also have a light and a heavy, and I think they have a super heavy build. And what this is just basically an acrylic resin, and it looks, in the container it looks white, but once it's been applied thin, it'll dry clear, and that works really well for this process. I've already applied 2 coats of the gel onto this body, and I'm going to apply a third, and that should be enough. In fact, right now as I run my fingers across it, it feels pretty smooth, and I could probably go with it as is, but I want to add one more just for insurance reasons, and then I'll let that dry. It takes about an hour or so for it to dry. I'll probably give it a couple of hours, and then I'll lightly sand it back with 220 to get it really, really smooth. Then I'll be ready to start spraying the top coat. So let's get started. I just use a foam brush, and that's what the stuff looks like. And you just kind of slop it on. And the nice thing about this, even though it's a water-based product, this stuff takes quite a bit of time before it sets up. It does not dry right away. And that's what I really like about it, because I can work it and get it smooth and packed into the grain, and I don't have to work so fast that I don't end up doing a very good job of it. So, and then I just use an old plastic card, and I just scrape it over the surface, making sure I cover every bit of it. And when this stuff dries, it's going to dry. It dries pretty hard, but surprisingly enough, it sands out very nicely. All right, well, it's been a couple of hours since I applied that last application of my Liquitex grain filler, and now I'm in the process of just lightly sanding off the surface to get it smooth. The thing about any top coat, whether it's nitrocellulose or a water-based poly, the smoother you get the surface, the easier and the fewer coats you have to put on of your top coat. And so I try to get the surface as smooth and as perfect as I can get it before I even start to spray the top coats. So. As you can see, I've got a couple of spots here that were a little bit higher. So by sanding those, I've taken off a little bit of the red dye. So I'll have to go back in and just touch those spots there. And then I'll start spraying my clear coat.